And queen takes f3. Oh, what is going on? Oh, this is going to be a fortress. I just don't see any hopes at all. This is very easy. Just rook back and forth.
Taking chess to the next level.
Wow. Wow.
Wow, yeah. Nothing else to say. Wow.
Creating the future of the sport. Special bundles with premium membership from Chess24. Super discounts on merchandise. Massive sales on courses from Chessable. Chessable and Chess24 bundles. With new deals appearing every day. Visit chess24.com/deals.
Hey everyone, hope the sound works, hope everything works. I've got all the chats open as I can now happily do because I have plenty of screens in front of me. So let's play some chess and I will happily talk to you guys. Let's get a board open and go from there. That's a good start to the day. Always good to start with a Petrov for no reason whatsoever. You are generally not advised to play this line against the Petrov if we're being honest with ourselves. It's probably not going to do you much good to play this, but I am just not in the mood for like a proper theoretical discussion. The big question here will be whether I will be able to actually equalize. After knight f6, I probably will be able to equalize though. The ideal plan for me would be to play something like a 4 knight d2 knight f3 knight e5, but I'm guessing my opponent probably will have something to say about that. One sec. Let me do something here. Yeah, I don't really see any way to include a 4 here, which would be, as mentioned, probably ideal. But yeah, no real way for me to get that in. How are you? I'm okay. I'm looking forward to playing some chess. The tour starts in a couple of days' time, which is obviously fun. I should have played knight f5 on the previous move actually, because now I've allowed bishop f4, which will lead to this as well. But I was more worried about the immediate bishop f4. Yeah, if my opponent doesn't play bishop f4 here, I think I have a little bit of something in an endgame like this. It's not much, but there's definitely a little bit of an advantage because the bishops have not come off. You can definitely pretend you have some more active plans than your opponent. The challenges I will be taking as random a selection of challenges as possible. I see this question all the time. the answer always remains the same. I don't know about knight takes d2. Maybe I shouldn't have allowed knight takes d2. It remains to be seen whether my opponent is happy allowing queen c8 check next move. But yeah, like the usual rules apply. Please don't spam requests to accept your challenge in chat. This generally does not help very much because the assumption has to be that everybody who already sent a challenge wants to play. So asking sort of above and beyond that is not really very helpful. I don't really mind about time controls. All time controls are, generally speaking, fine. I'm not sure why I sacrificed this pawn. I think black can actually take twice, and I'm not entirely certain what my continuation is if black just takes. I was kind of hoping I have some, like, I shouldn't be worse, but honestly, even that is not immediately clear. This may have been a misplay. I kind of assumed I will have some initiative, but the threat of knight d6 is a little bit too annoying. And now black can play queen d4, queen b2, any of those moves. So yeah, I think I'm sort of... After queen d4, I think I probably have a repetition. After queen e7, the game continues, which I'm not entirely unhappy about, honestly. I'm probably maybe slightly worse, but I really like positions with bishops, so it's hard for me to be too discouraged about this. But yeah, I haven't played this portion of the game all that well. If my pawn was still on f2 here, I would feel reasonably confident about my chances, but with my pawn on f3 and my king being weak, my opponent just did something very strange, giving me the pawn on a6 for no reason. But even this position, I'm not altogether certain I am much better because of how well, you know, famously the queen and knight are very, very strong together. I can pick up the pawn on d5 with check, but then I have no good reply to queen d2 check, and I probably have to take a draw. So I now have to figure out if there's any chance I can be better here. We can do some extremely speculative stuff here, sort of as an attempt to lose more than an attempt to win. This probably is bad, but I just want to make this game more interesting to watch. Knight g5, king g4, and if queen d4 check, I go to h5, and then I start taking pawns with checks. It's very possible I get mated here. Yeah, I blundered queen g7, but I'm not sure how unhappy I am about this, honestly. This is a weird position. I might be completely fine. Yeah, I'm definitely completely fine here because of the Reti maneuver like this. I get to pick up the pawn on d5, and yeah, now I'm probably completely winning. So I ended up kind of tricking my opponent here. Whoa, okay. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like that wasn't necessary. Yeah, that was a bit stupid by me, but we count this as a win in my book, anyway. That was a stupid pre-move. I should have actually not taken on h6, but there we go. I could have just made any moves. I was ahead on the clock. That was kind of remarkably stupid, but this is what you get on this stream. Yeah, I was just kind of having fun with it and stopped kind of paying any attention to the pre-moves I was making. On 10 seconds, there was absolutely no need to switch to this mode. I find that, you know, as I get older, this is not a good move. I just, once again, not really in the mood to play like mainline theoretical things. I find as I get older, I become more and more annoyed by small things. And I think I let my annoyance show there a little bit too much. There was really no need for me to react to the fact that the game continues with the queen against pawn and me having more time. And I guess the way the game finished absolutely justifies my opponent's decision to continue, because like if you occasionally actually make a draw from that position against me, you definitely should be continuing. I think I've actually, I've hurt myself for the future, because people will now be doing more of this stuff against me now that it has been proven to be successful. E6 knight e7 was, if we look at the position after h3, I think when you're playing the dragon, you really aren't supposed to play e6 very early, because your position becomes a lot more vulnerable. Now the pawn on d6 is just very, very weak. The black position just becomes very difficult to play. I understand that my opponent was worried about, let's say, developing the knight to f6, because I specifically played g4 to be able to chase that knight away. But it was still, I'm fairly certain, a better option than the choice my opponent made. What was the purpose of bishop b5? I don't think it was a very good move, Cthulhu. I think my opponent is kind of worried about castling short. Very understandably worried about castling short, because then h4, h5 becomes extremely strong. Trying to defend d6 is a good explanation, but if you have to go bishop g7 after f4, then that reasoning probably is slightly incorrect. And now we get like a very, very good French. I could have picked up the pawn on d6 at some point, I'm pretty sure, but I just decided that I don't need to, because this is a very, very good French type. Well, okay, it was a very, very good French type position. I'm not at my brightest today, seemingly. This is now an unclear French position, because I managed to completely ignore the fact that the pawn on h4 is hanging. This wasn't very, very smart. I still have compensation because of, how dominant my pieces are. Well, king e7 has to be punished somehow. I have a feeling even f5 probably works. Knight takes e6 and then f5 might work as well. You really should not be, like, this is really, really pushing it, I feel. I could play sort of a quieter game here, but I kind of want to play f5 just for the hell of it. Bishop takes gf. I'm pretty sure I should be winning now, because the position just gets blown apart with like rook h7 next move. But after bishop takes e5, I would still have to prove that I have enough play. Yeah, I mean, as I mentioned, the discussion now in chat about it being correct or incorrect to continue against the full queen. I'm mentioning that I'm becoming annoyed, and I prefaced it by saying, it's just me becoming a very grumpy old man. There's nothing, intrinsically wrong about continuing a blitz game. I am not lodging a complaint against my opponent. He's done nothing wrong there. I'm just mentioning it to say that it used to not annoy me at all, and as I grow older, it's kind of annoying me slightly more. Why am I white in every single game? That seems slightly rigged. Yeah, St. Kitts and Nevis is a Caribbean island. I understand it's already been answered, but you're welcome, Marcus. You were playing fine. I didn't really like your opening choices, but for a while there you defended quite well. But then it all. What's my flag? Yeah, that's yeah. They changed my username back to Paul Borta from your Gravedigger, but I forgot to change the flag. This is why the questions. Yeah. I forgot I did that. I changed my country on Chess24 so that it would be more difficult to guess who the player is when I was playing in the Halloween thingy. I think this game probably should. Well, okay, now it's starting. I was just about to abort it, and then moves started happening. So yeah, the current St. Kitts and Nevis is is a tribute to the Banter Blitz event, where I had to go in and change the info so that I would be less easily searchable, so to speak. This should be a pretty decent English attack here for white, because I think black is supposed to try and punish white a little bit harder in the opening. You could take on b5 here, but having played with my pawn still on g2, I think bishop takes b5 is quite strong in this position. But with the pawn on g4, black gets a lot of counterplay in those endgames. So I think it's more sensible just to do this. What's the meaning of pole board? I'm sure there's somebody in chat. If this were in Twitch, on Twitch, there would be a command for that. But since we're currently seemingly not on Twitch, there is no exclamation mark pole board to use. Yeah, I've not really played this as well as I could have. I'm pretty sure I was supposed to have more of an advantage here than I currently do. I may have been a little bit too relaxed about things. I still sort of like my position, but black will be able to reasonably comfortably castle queenside, which is quite annoying because it negates all the progress I've made on the king side here. If black does castle queenside, we can start preparing something against that. But for now, I'm just going to wait for a move. Yeah, that's actually quite reasonable. Just take everything off the h file. You don't even have to take on h1 here. I quite like this decision. Yeah, include h, g, hg, hg, and then just play castles long, sort of continuing to fight for the h file. I have to be very careful about allowing d6, d5 in a position like this. That would be a large-scale problem if I allowed it in a good version for black. I'm not sure about knight c4 though. I think this probably was not that great. I think pushing for d6, d5 without trading that knight for that bishop was probably stronger. And knight e2 I thought was a good touch because I'm stopping c4, c3 there. I'm kind of threatening to play knight c3 myself, and I also opened up this idea of queen d4, queen g7, and queen a7 mate, of course, was threatened on the previous move. Yeah, now d5 happens, but I think it's a little bit too late unless I go completely insane here. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you, Dutch Defender, because I don't really want to, advertise things which are, to a very... Hang on a second. Should put this game to bed before doing anything else, right? Let's not be stupid. Let's just do this. And then g6, g7. I don't know why I allowed d4. I could have included d takes d5. Yeah, I'm kind of floundering again. Annoyed at myself. g4, and the queen on g7 is, I think, in the wrong place. I've not played the last, 3 moves particularly well. I don't really follow football anymore, Daus. My, sports I follow these days are, in some order, cricket, snooker, and that's and esports of some sort. 3501. Even though I understand it's a joke, yeah, and it's going to disappear in a moment, it's still a nice a nice milestone. Thanks for to the mods for giving me this extremely beautiful rating for one game. Finally got a black game going. Oh, it's still there. Somebody should, call the rating police, because this is like evidence of unbelievable inflation going on the website. As you have seen in the past few games, I'm really not that good. If I kept getting whites, I wouldn't complain. I'm not, I'm complaining on your behalf, guys. I'm not complaining personally. I definitely am much more of a, white collar specialist these days. I used to have a fighting repertoire with black, and I used to feel that it's not that skewed in my favor. But these days, having said that, like at the very, very top level, I think I might actually have done okay with black compared, because of how toothless my white repertoire is these days. But games don't seem to be starting today. I'll give this another 5 seconds. Pepsi or Coke? Definitely Coke. Although it's kind of weird because I really don't drink sodas more or less at all, and I definitely don't drink colas outside of the US. But when I do things in the US, and by do things these days, it means when I do something in St. Louis, whether it's playing or commentating, I actually end up drinking I don't know, a Coke, like a small Coke per day, because it's there. It's completely like it's in your face. It's everywhere, and it feels kind of culturally expected from you to be drinking it. But then I go home and we just don't buy sodas for the house. There's never any soda in the house at all. Yeah, no idea what I'm trying to achieve here. As usual, when I play this opening, I get very, very easily confused by my own ideas, or lack thereof. Speedrun to 100,000 on chess 24. Yeah, that sounds like a likely story. Hardhouse. Unreachable maximum elo? Do we mean like feeder ratings or online ratings, Guillaume? Because it's a very, very large distinction, obviously. I'm really not a specialist on online ratings. In terms of feeder ratings, that's probably a bit of a mistake, because now I can take on f6 and black will have to take with the pawn, which is not really all that great. Can go knight e4, but I don't really like allowing d5, d4, which is a bit of a problem, because I really like the idea of putting that knight on f4. If I play knight d4 instead, black has the option of initiating quite a number of trades, but it's still better, I think. Feeder ratings, yeah, there's been a discussion going on, like a suggested prop bet, if you like, on which of the two outcomes is less probable, not more probable, less probable. First outcome is somebody, and by somebody you probably in the current climate mean Magnus specifically. Somebody gets to 2900. That's the first thing you can choose. And the second thing is, at a certain point in time, there is nobody on the FIDE rating list who is above 28. And I think probably it's likelier that somebody hits 2900. But I think both of those are quite unlikely. Because when Magnus was absolutely destroying everybody and was like in the form of his life, he got to, I think, 2885-ish, and it became very, very difficult to make progress. And the moment he started having, slightly human results, it immediately started going back. That's a clever move, actually, because the queen goes to e4 and kind of pins my things a little bit. I don't like my things being pinned. How do I think Kramnik would have done versus Anand if he qualified from London? It's hard to say. I mean, I personally have, very, very difficult time playing both of them, so it's difficult for me to compare. I think the way Vlad was playing in the candidates, he probably would have started maybe as a slight favorite. But having said that, saying people are favored against Vishy has been an incredibly stupid statement for such a long time. Like, people have been making this statement for the past, I don't know, 10 years, saying, Vishy is no longer as good as he used to be, and any kind of a reasonable challenger will be favored against him. And every time he comes back and proves that this is completely ridiculous. This is I thought it was a bad move, but it's not. So, I don't know. Would have been a very, very interesting match to watch. I think I can take. I don't think queen takes f3 is any kind of a particular threat. I think I cover this quite easily. Apart from that stalemate I gave in game 1, I'm doing okay so far, but that's really not saying very much. Yeah, I think you can make that statement that the match against Boris was very close and Vlad was very much in the ascendancy. But Vishy, if he just suddenly decides that he like if he somehow plays his A game, nobody really has any kind of an edge against Vishy's A game. Yeah, stop playing stop playing with my rating, guys. That's becoming a bit embarrassing. You're welcome. Why must I lose? Let's play a Scotch for a change. Whoa, d takes c6. That I didn't really expect at all. Nobody really does that because this endgame, compared to the Berlin, you don't really have a in the Berlin, black gets the two bishop advantage in an endgame like this, which is really, really not insignificant. Like, it's I think it's a very, very large reason why the Berlin is playable at all. The fact that you get the two bishops. Although I assumed I could play knight e2 here, but now I think maybe black will be actually able to take on a2, which is a little bit of an issue, honestly. I mean, this endgame is still going to be slightly better for me, but I was not planning to do this. And yeah, I'm not even sure my statement is factual here. This is probably completely fine for black now. That was stupid. I really assumed I will be able to go away with the knight, and then those positions I would have enjoyed, but yeah, the way I've done it was quite clearly wrong. But I think is the strongest to challenge Magnus for the crown. Magnus himself has, I think, discussed this at some length, and I mean, currently, the quote-unquote public probably wants Magnus to play Ali Reza eventually. Because there's a lot of excitement in that idea of Magnus playing somebody young and new and exciting and so on. But that's We're not there yet. It might happen eventually, but we're definitely not there yet. This should be very good for me, but I should be kind of careful not to do something stupid here and let my advantage slip. Rook g8, probably bishop c4, king f8. I think this is probably close to winning. We can try, making this into a teachable moment. I just win the rook. I don't need to make it into a teachable moment. I win the entire damn caboodle. Nicely played, Jake. I appreciate that. That's very, very nicely done, Jake. Fair play to you. Yeah, if you meant that last one, the comment about me not thinking the previous comment is funny. Yeah, I don't think this comment is funny. The original one is definitely very, very nicely done. I enjoyed that. I mean, what is this stream if not an opportunity for my mods to roast me? Like, there's really no other reason for me to stream apart from that. I don't know about this. This is probably incorrect, but I kind of want to make the game as sharp as possible, as early as possible. And if I play d5 without cd4, white could take on e5 and then play e4. And I want my knight on c6 to have more squares for that. And now we get like ideas like knight h5, knight f4 here, for instance, which is not unreasonable. And normally you should be playing bishop. Whoa, that's a mistake. I guess my opponent forgot that there is a pin on this diagonal. So the game, I didn't take on d2 there. I mean, I kind of mentally checked out because I'm now a rook up and the game somehow still continues. I like some English beers. There's definitely some very good English beers, but I don't think my default beer is specifically English. But there's definitely some very, very nice ones. A local supermarket next to where we live used to have a very, very good selection of English ales and things, but they have since disappeared for some reason. Yeah, and includes Scottish, of course. Yeah, like I'm not a huge specialist though, as I mentioned. Like I have some experience with it, but very, very limited. Do you like kvass? I mean, the question, of course, this is going to be a little bit too specialized for this chat, I think, Cthulhu. But the real, like, flame-inducing question is not do you like kvass or not? It's the yeah, okay, that's going to be a little bit too technical for this chat. Basically, there is this Russian soup, which is the easiest way to describe it would be to say that it's like a gazpacho, but the mixture of vegetables that goes into it is slightly different from a gazpacho. And you serve it in two different fashions. You either serve it with kvass being the liquid base for it, or you serve it with kefir being the liquid base. And some of you probably know what kefir is because it has now become kind of a, you can buy kefir everywhere now. It's not just an ex-Soviet thing. And there are, huge flame wars on this topic everywhere. Whoa, that's very strong. My last few moves were apparently absolutely abysmal, and I am now in trouble in this game because I thought I could play e5 here, but black can take on d4, and yeah, I'm just I still don't have anything better to do, but yeah, that's regrettable. That's not how this game was supposed to go. I kind of the whole Kvass/Kefir discussion distracted me a little bit too much. Yeah, my opponent could have taken on d4 in the previous move. I think he was close to winning if he did that. I think Jad, due to like the nature of his main occupation, is a lot better at dealing with losses than his namesake. I can do something very like curious/speculative here. Well, I mean, let's go. Like we're sort of enjoying ourselves here, so instead of trying to describe to you what I'm talking about, let's just make the moves, right? It's much more fun. This is probably like the machine probably refutes this very, very easily, but I am not playing against the machine, so I am welcoming the chance to do something, to throw some pieces at my opponent. Do you prefer The Simpsons or Family Guy? I prefer, probably neither. Yeah, this was sort of the position I had in my mind when I went for this combination. This is obviously quite good for me, but there must have been a refutation somewhere along the way. I mean, must have been as strong. Maybe it's a bit underselling my idea, but I was expecting for there to have been a refutation. Even this position is not that clear, honestly. Knight g6 is a clever move. Have you seen Person of Interest? No. I know it exists, but I've never actually watched a single episode. I am now, for some strange reason, rewatching Line of Duty, which I have first watched when it came out. I don't really know why I'm doing this, honestly, but I am doing it. Line of Duty is excellent, as is most of the Beeb output. Nothing like police work at all. I mean, maybe, but good actors, and I thought decently interesting plots and so on. Yeah, I mean, if you want true to life police procedurals, there's probably better ones out there, but that's I don't think that should be the criteria there. Yeah, there are some chess episodes thrown into many shows, Vanilla Land. Generally speaking, they're not great. Despite, for me, it's kind of funny because like it will be taken to be a bit of a controversial statement, but and I mean it's not even true, honestly, but like I feel happy saying those things, so I will say that f3 here should not be played. You should be castling here. F3 is a little bit too wishy-washy. You don't really need that move, and definitely you don't need to be playing it before bishop b3. I probably should have taken on d4, because now bishop b3, queen d2, white can still transpose to some reasonably playable like English attack type settings. So yeah, I wanted to say is that, of course, the Queen's Gambit is like the best thing that happened to chess in terms of mainstream interest. But for me, my favorite chess-related show probably still remains the Canadian show Endgame, which got cancelled after one season, which featured as its main protagonist a Russian-born, I think, grandmaster called Arkady Bologan, who never leaves the hotel because of some psychological dramas in his past. So he solves crimes out of his hotel room while constantly being dressed in a bathrobe and drinking vodka. So you can sort of see why it got canceled. Like, it had no relation. I'm actually much worse now. I've done like a number of stupid things in a row in this game, and I'm now much worse, which is sort of funny considering how much I flamed my opponent's approach. It was spelled with double A's, actually, not Bologan, Balagan, and it wasn't based on any, like, it's not a documentary, guys. It's just a TV show about a chess playing savant, so to speak. I don't know what I'm supposed to do here. Bishop takes e7 was extremely weird, and white is still doing quite fine, actually. But my opponent should not have given up that bishop for that knight. Yeah, Smirnov should have put money for season 2. Yeah, I think it was actually sponsored by Smirnov, right? That's very good memory, Imperator. Or I don't know how you pronounce your nick. But yeah, that show was like very, very special. Like, for chess players, it's probably some of the best pure comedic content you can find, because of how wildly inaccurate it was about everything to do with chess, and like how stereotypical of the characters were. No promises, Taurus team. As I mentioned before, I currently have, I don't know how many exactly, but seems like maybe 50-ish challenges. Definitely not everybody who has challenged me will get a game, because we only have 90 minutes and 40 of them have already been and gone. So asking for a game specifically probably doesn't improve your chances. Yeah, let's take the rook. I mean, it's not necessary, but let's not be too fanciful here. Or I could play queen f4 check, but I'll do it next move. For some reason, I've forgotten I have queen f4 check here. Let's lose a game of chess then. I'm only sort of saying this in jest, but this is the strongest challenge I've seen in the list, so I want to play at least one sort of extremely strong opponent in this banter, and see how I do. You're welcome, Nikki. You were doing fine, and then it kind of went slightly off the rails for you. Who is this? Doesn't say. Somebody from France. People have been doing this against me quite a bit in my recent experiences. Like, I've been playing this type of the English quite a bit myself with the white bits, and I have faced this particular setup in response quite a bit. And it seemed to me like this is not stupid at all. I kind of want to play b5. I don't see how it gets refuted, so I'll play it anyway. Is there anyone you feel Jan and Peter forgot to include in the top 50 Hall of Fame? First of all, like, it's my understanding, I don't know if I'm right or wrong on this, but it's my understanding that Jan and Peter were sort of the public face of the list, but it was not, strictly speaking, their choices. I think the point there was that there was a clever algorithm which was, to a very large degree, doing the choosing. This is not stupid at all. I kind of misunderstood what my opponent wants, and now I have some maybe slightly uncomfortable choices to make. So yeah, like, I think the people on the list were chosen according to like a mathematical formula which was designed to establish who was the most dominant player of all eras. And specifically because this knight is on b2, of course. If this knight was on some kind of a normal square, I would be worried. But with this knight being on b2, I'm not that unhappy with my position. I don't know about bishop takes d5, though. It's very, very committal. a4 is a clever move. Yeah, exactly. I think they've definitely looked at some historic data. I was kind of going for some knight a2, knight c3 ideas here, but I just don't know if they're much good. I think I'll do it anyway, just to... Yeah, it just doesn't belong on c3. I'm going to bail out and go back. It really does not belong on c3, because in order to put it on c3, I would have to play b5 before, and then the knight on b2 would get the c4 square, and that's just a lot more relevant than me having access to the c3 square. But yeah, now I have to deal with f4 threats. This is the issue. This knight, of course, should not be where it is. And also, I should not be tanking this much. This is going very poorly. I'm in a lot of trouble here. I would not have traded on e5 so quickly, though. I think my opponent probably shouldn't have done this in this way. He's still doing very well, like knight b2, knight c4. I should have taken on d3, though. We're both kind of playing faster than the clocks. Yeah, exactly. Playing faster than the clocks actually demand, so to speak. Okay, this is an improvement, though. I get to put my knight on d4. That should not probably have been allowed. I will still get flagged, though. Queen takes f4. Oh, he had queen takes f4 there. That would have been so beautiful if he did that. That was a wrong knight as well. Let's see if my opponent decides to flag me here, which he probably will succeed in. Yeah, I thought so. Yeah. I don't know why people do that, but okay. Fair enough. Why not? As I said, let's lose a game of chess. This is not a particularly good opening, honestly. Feels like my opening choice in this game was slightly influenced by the fact that I'm becoming unreasonably tilted by world events. And in all honesty, my opponent had been winning for a large portion of that game, so I think it's sort of fine for him to feel aggrieved that he was suddenly losing. He was he or she was definitely crushing for a very large portion of that game, so there is maybe some justification for what happened. Queen b3 here was a mistake. Of course, giving up the pawns on e5 and d4 is not good. I was doing fine, but now I'm completely winning, and that really wasn't due to anything I did. It was due to a mistake by my opponent here. 1600 federated players improving mainly through practice. If you have access to coaching, coaching will help you quite a bit, of course, but mainly through playing against people who are slightly better than you. If you can find like meaningful practice against strong players, it will be probably the best thing you can do to improve. Knight takes d5 would be a clever tactic here if the e7 square was available, but it's not. Let's do this. This wins sort of more material immediately, although both moves, of course, win kind of. They both have the same probability of winning, is what I'm trying to say, but do I enjoy chess as a fun game, or does it become about? No, by this point, I am much more interested in finding new ways to enjoy chess. I have very, very few attainable, competitive goals left. If you consider what I have achieved and what I haven't achieved in my career, the things I haven't achieved, I think it's okay to expect not to be able to achieve them by this point. Yeah, I'm not going to. I don't know what's happening here, but I'm going to just ignore it. And yeah, there is definitely a lot of resources available for free on the internet. All the tactical solvers and the study solvers, and there's a lot of resources that can teach you openings and so on. So I think trying to become better at chess has never been, as logistically easy as it is right now. It is still a difficult game, and you're still not guaranteed to succeed or anything. But from a purely technical viewpoint, this is kind of a funny position because it's like an f3 Grunfeld, but with a pawn on f2, which I think you can make an argument that this is an improvement for white. Because you do get to develop the knight to f3, which you normally wouldn't be able to do. I don't know. Today I seem to be playing a lot against the Turkish opponents. I've no idea why. This is not a very usual occurrence during these banters, but it definitely is slightly skewed in that direction today. don't really have an explanation for you. This is a nice, like, generally speaking, d4, d5, c4, knight f6 is not great for black, because you end up with positions like this, which are, material is equal, nothing horribly dramatic happened to black, but they're just not very fun to play. Did I blunder knight takes d5 or bishop takes d5? Sort of, but I mean, I definitely blundered it, but I don't think it's very good. I mean, I'm choosing them at random, Batman. I don't think we need to impose some kind of random geographical restrictions. That would be, I think, excessive. Yeah, why am I for some reason, I thought the plan was to play rook e8. Of course, the plan is to play queen f6. I should have played d6 instead. I'm actually kind of throwing away most of my... I have already managed to throw away most of my advantage with the previous move specifically. That wasn't very bright. I don't like this capture, though. Helping me develop the knight from c3 to d4 seems very counterintuitive. Maybe black is still fine, but I really feel like in positions like this, you should not be, as my opponent, he should not be trying to do my job for me, so to speak. And because I declared that I want my knight on d4, I think it's definitely not great for black to be so obliging. Yeah, and because black basically spent, first of all, got my knight to d4 so quickly, and secondly, my opponent spent a few moves in a row there doing nothing at all, I am suddenly back to being more or less completely in control here. This is once again close to winning, if not just outright winning. Yeah, these are just two healthy extra pawns for nothing, so shouldn't be a problem to convert from here. Let's pick somebody from the bottom of the list who's been waiting for quite some time. And it is another... Somehow, the thing is, when I'm picking the challenges, I don't see the flag. Trust me, this is happening at random. I probably should maybe pay more attention to the usernames, and g6 followed by e6 is probably not great. This is probably something you should not be doing. Although, yeah, and I shouldn't have played e5, actually. That's a mistake. But yeah, giving me a full piece in the opening is not going to go particularly well. I should actually pay a little bit of attention, because I don't think I should have returned with the queen before playing all of the moves that I played. This is... I actually managed to create some problems for myself here, which is very, very unusual and very stupid, considering I was basically a full piece up by move 5. Twitch chat is... Are we actually back on Twitch? Let me open that up. Because for a while there, we I think weren't on Twitch, so I didn't have that open. Let me get my people up on the screen. There we go. Yeah. My setup before I started streaming was the board in the middle and then both chats to the sides of it. But Livon was doing the Q&A, and I kind of gave up and closed the Twitch chat. Which is never the play, obviously. You never, ever close the Twitch chat. How come you're not playing in the Russian teams? I did not really feel like traveling, honestly, Cthulhu. And my team is doing just fine without me, so... yeah, it was a combination of those things. Plus, of course, I'm playing in the tour, so there would be a conflict anyway. But I think even without the tour, I probably was going to skip that one. So you missed almost everything. I don't know about that, Nick. I think I was being reasonably well entertained by the Chess24 chat, which used to be, you know, the chat to be in for a while. There are bunters and things happening basically all the time. So what is on purpose is Chess24 trying to provide like a full schedule of events. That is definitely being done on purpose. I don't think there's any nefarious reasoning for it. Nice interview with an interview with Jake is kind of regrettable that I missed an interview with Jake, Nick. Yeah, sure. Can you tell me the percentage how much influence the chess software had on Magnus' success? Specifically in Magnus's case, I think not very large. I mean, it's obviously very useful for him, but he is definitely one of the people who were, you know, the least reliant on it to, you know, become great. The best tournament you played in your career, competition-wise, and also your best performance. Probably, I will be very tempted to name the same tournament for that. I think the World Cup in 2011, I just played very, very well from start to finish. And I think that's definitely very high on the list. It's not the... Yeah, that's an annoying line. Because 96 is fine, but it's kind of a forced draw. Let's not make a forced draw. By not making a forced draw there, we are basically choosing not to equalize. But sometimes you choose not to equalize. What can you say? Yeah, I think I played Ruslan in the semis, and yeah, that was a very interesting match. And that Grunfeld I won against him is one of my favorite games ever. Thank you. Why must I lose? I appreciate the kind words. I'm not sure they're entirely justified, but I really do appreciate them. So yeah, sometimes in the Grunfeld, like in particular, if you want to have a game where not everything will be decided straight out of the opening, I was expecting this not to be possible, but my opponent seems to think it's still playable. I will play bishop a4 for now. The big question will be, he probably goes somewhere with the rook on d1. And then the big question is, do I actually want to give up my g7 bishop for the rook on a1? I don't know the answer immediately, because I think there are other options as well. But like if I want to be ambitious, I'm pretty sure I'm supposed to take. I'm pretty sure I'm not supposed to like chicken out here and ignore this exchange. Once again, I don't want to, advertise against our own stream, but I will advise those of you who have that option to get a very, very large curved screen. And then you can have so many things on it at the same time. And that sort of solves the problem of having to choose. When you can have everything at the same time on your screen and you just choose what to mute. Who's a chess player you want to be on stranded on a desert island with? I think hard to argue against Grishuk. I think he is strong. He probably has more practical skills than I do. Like, he will be able potentially to start a fire and do all of these things. And we're also good friends, so we are going to be fine being there for a prolonged period of time if that needs to happen. Oh, there's a bullet challenge. Let's play one game of bullet. Will Grishuk bring his kids? That probably just that's not how the challenge. Well, hang on a second. That's not a premium. That's not a premium challenge. I apologize for that. Should not be doing any of those. It's a pity because nobody ever sends me bullet challenges, and would have been fun to show you guys, just how useless I am at that. He would build a raft and leave you behind. Yeah, it's possible. It's possible, but I'm betting against it. Top three of the chess books I ever read. Yeah, if I start telling you how great the Gelfand books are again, you will probably feel like I'm probably, banging that drum a little bit too much. Zurich 53 was very much one of my all-time favorites when I was a kid, by Bronstein and one co-author who I always forget the name of. I think it was Bronstein and Weinstein, which sounds like a made-up thing, but I don't think it was. Alechin's 300 Favorite Games was a book which I think I sort of grew up on to a large degree. I don't know why I played c5 so early. I think I was supposed to start with knight d7. That may have been a misplay. That may have been... Yeah, that's a very good reply, actually. And now I will have to do some mental gymnastics to justify what I just did. Kind of unhappy with myself. This could have been so easily avoided. And honestly, I don't know if I will be able to justify what I did here, because I think I'm actually in trouble now. Yeah, this is just very, very unnecessary, what's happening here. Just extremely unnecessary, because I think I had a kind of a nice risk-free position, and I managed to turn it into this, which is neither nice nor risk-free. I think it shows that I haven't really been playing the sharper lines of the Peers very often these days. C4, I think I'm kind of expected to just return this exchange as early as possible and play this position. Now I'm back to feeling quite okay with my life. I think if I don't blunder anything in the next few moves, my structure is very fluid. White has weaknesses I can play against. I think I'm doing okay. I don't know why I did that. I wanted to go knight f5. Huh. Did not expect that at all. But I'm not sure if it's great, honestly. It's an interesting approach, though. But my opponent definitely should have taken on f6 here. Not taking on f6 here was, I think, a mistake. And in particular, giving me the d4 square for the knight on h6 was also, let's say, suboptimal. How do you face losses? Honestly, not particularly well, Astanavevo. I don't think I've ever been great at it, and I'm definitely not very good at it now, but it comes with practice. I think you can say one good thing about chess is that it definitely teaches you that losses happen, and it teaches you how to deal with them. So it's a useful skill to have in real life. But I think about the modern in tournament play, it's still playable. It's just that, when you play very strong opposition, it becomes a lot harder to get positions that you will like. Exclamation mark Paul Borta, I am Bivirus. You want 1 or 3? I am fine with the challenges I already have. I don't think it matters very much what you send, honestly. I used to play, I think, it was one of the earliest disappointments of my chess career. When I think in my first ever Linares, I played the Peers against Vichy in one of the early rounds. And I eventually lost that game, but I was fine for much of it. And actually, I think at one point I was even slightly better for a very short period of time. And then after the game was finished, Mig Gringard, who is now a very good friend of mine, who was at that point writing a column for, I think, the Weekend Chess. I wish I knew theory here. Like, this is a line I don't think you're supposed to be playing if you know no theory whatsoever. It's not going to go particularly well for me if I just try to wing it here. So Mig wrote a column in which he said, the tournament has just started, but Peter Svidler has already won the prize for the crappiest opening played in Linares this year. And I thought, that's unfair. Like, I had a good position. Why are you saying those things, Mig? And I've been sort of holding a grudge ever since. It's not going to go well for me if I wing it. Wings it, goes well. Yeah, I mean, that's sort of the trademark here. RD. This particular winging, it probably will not go well. This is not a good piece sacrifice. I will have some counterplay because my king is going to be safer than my opponent's king. And I will actually have quite a number of pawns for it. But yeah, that piece sacrifice was... I seem to be sort of overusing the word speculative, but it was definitely speculative. kind of want to be greedy here. I think, like, if I don't get mated, I'm definitely very, very incentivized to take on a2 because now basically every endgame will be good for me. And I don't think I get mated here because white doesn't actually have that many efficient attackers, at least not immediately. Oh, this is clever. This I didn't see. d4 with the intention of giving the perpetual via g5 and f6, or maybe even more than a perpetual. This is a clever move I did not anticipate. Which is probably, you know, a solid reason not to be greedy in that previous position. I'm running very, very significant risks now. Like tremendously significant risks. But I think I'm still sort of okay because of this, the inclusion of the queen in the defense. White is probably just fine if he goes into these endgames, but yeah, I think it's difficult for... Actually, he doesn't need to go into any kind of endgames. Yeah, I think this is smart by my opponent. My opponent is playing a very nice game so far, actually. I'm very impressed. Yeah, and this is also good. Whoa. Yeah, I missed that bishop takes f6 happens. And now we kind of resign, honestly. Now we kind of resign. Although maybe not here. Like, this is surprising that he went bishop takes f6 so quickly. I was worried I was going to get mated, but here I'm not going to get mated. Here I'm completely fine. Yeah, very interesting game, which we could analyze, but there's not much time, and we should try to fit maybe 2 more games in, so I'm not going to talk too much about it. But yeah, very, very exciting game. Plenty of happening there. Thanks very much for the 3-month past pawn. Nice to see you here. Yeah, I somehow felt that, you know, from... Yeah, I think I probably could have played for a win there, but considering the fact that I was probably lost at some point, I wasn't very interested in that. Once people go knight f3 against me after d4 knight f6, I just feel that there's some kind of a London-ish coming. And it's not a very happy feeling, but what to do? How many simultaneous games could you handle blindfolded? I've been doing that a little bit on my own stream, Worst Bishop. I have done 7. And the weird thing is, if you do it online, I think weirdly it's maybe slightly more difficult online than it is live, because the way the simuls are structured online... I actually answered that question, Rook. The way the simuls are structured online, you get the moves from your opponents in no particular order, which makes it a lot more difficult to, you know, remember which move is coming on which board. And for me, the biggest challenge there is in giving a a blindfold simul is just not mixing up the boards in the openings, specifically in the openings, when like knight f6 could happen on any of the 5 boards, for instance. Because once I have like established the connection between a username and the position in my head, once, let's say, we get to move 10 on all, let's say, 7 boards, we get to move 10, and if obviously, if by that point I haven't blundered anything yet, it becomes a lot easier for me, because from that moment on, I probably don't forget where things are. But very early on, it gets kind of tricky. I'm pretty sure if I continue doing it regularly, I could go up to, I don't know, between 10 and 15. I didn't really prepare very much, chess fan. That's a full rook, actually, Ardaus. That's an unfortunate decision. Do you see the board in 2D or 3D? It's a kind of a mix. I think it's more 2D, but there's definitely some like visual quality to it, which makes it a mix of those two things. But it's mainly 2D. Okay, guys, I guess one more after this one, and then we have to leave the stage for the next show, because there is an unending carousel of people doing things on Chess24 these days, which is good, obviously. Oof. Another one of my favorite openings. And apparently Magnus also gave an interview saying that it's a good tip for any of the Banter Blitz opponents he can face to play the Alapin against him, because he hates it. I think most Sicilian players don't particularly like facing the Alapin. This is actually, despite appearances, this is, if my opponent actually knows the theory here, it is one of the sharpest and the riskiest lines black can, yeah, okay, scrap all that. You are not supposed to take on d6 here. You're supposed to leave the pawn on e5 and start sacrificing. Thank you very much, CJ Rebek, and thanks for the bits. I knew me liking cricket was good for something. Yeah, you're supposed to go castles, allow me to take on e5 eventually, and go knight g5. And those positions are like genuinely scary to play for black if black doesn't know what he's doing. I think eventually I'm supposed to start taking on f3 here, but I'll wait for one more move. Yeah, world record I think is 58 boards right now, Dutch defender, but that's by Timur Gareev, who is, you know, a very, very special person. Yeah, I kind of hope this wouldn't happen. That last sequence was just stupid. I did something very, very bad to my position here. I could have done this in a much, much smarter way. Of course, my opponent was allowing me so much freedom there that I sort of stopped paying attention. For about 2 moves, I kind of autopiloted, and my autopilot led me very much astray there. No, hang on. Yeah, I thought maybe my opponent goes 8 takes b6, and I was pre-moving king e7, and then I realized 8 takes b6 exists, after which pre-moving king e7 would have been a bit of a mistake. Do I have to react to this? I don't think I have to, no. How much better is the Alapin than a 2 knight c3 Sicilian? it's not really about better or worse. Alapin, I think, is a much better opening if you just want to try and get a draw, which is why the Sicilian players hate it so much. It's not that it's like a threatening opening or anything. It's just there is a certain like set of things you want to achieve with black when you're playing the Sicilian. And people who play the Alapin, that is a very like it's a simplification, of course. Not it will not be true about everybody, but like your average Alapin player plays the Alapin to make a draw. And this is what gets people so annoyed. It's not that it's a good opening, it's just that people very often play it specifically not to let you play chess. Is it only 58? I was pretty sure it was 48. Sorry. Yeah, I mean, 48. I thought it was higher, Dutch Defender, but yeah, I'll trust you on this. Yeah, that game against Gaia Magemi was just so painful. I tried getting some kind of a fighting position, and my king went from like g8 to a6, I think, and I barely avoided getting mated. I think we might get one more in, since we have some time left. In particular, if I can find a bullet challenge, but I don't think there's any left. I'll try to play quickly. Let's pretend I am giving my opponent 2 to 3 odds, so I lose if my timer goes below 1 minute here. Sorry, Blitz best. I didn't see it in the list, so I kind of waltzed right. Yeah, I'm actually much worse out of the opening here. Bishop c5. What am I doing? Yeah, the bishop should have gone to c5, not to b4. This is still fine, but like bishop c5 and then put it on d4. I am kind of screwing this up very, very badly. We're probably not going to get enough time for the bullet though. Sorry, guys. We are sort of limited at 90 minutes today because there's a new show coming straight after this. So can't promise. Like if this one goes really quickly, I might get a bullet game in. Who's the best player you love playing Grunfeld against? I don't think I saw that question, and I actually even thought about answering it, and then I realized I don't really know the answer. I don't think I have a favorite opponent on the black side of a Grunfeld. Is that like I'm actually okay, yeah, I thought it was something else. Yeah, that's a good avatar for sure. But for a second there I thought it was not Larry David, but somebody else. Let's include h5, although I don't know if I need to, but let's include it anyway. And then I probably will play c5 just to control everything. Is there a Hearthstone after party? There might be, but I can't promise anything. I've had a kind of a bad day on the grounds of battle today, and I'm somewhat tilted about that. Yeah, this is a nice endgame, of course, because of how restricted the black pieces are. In particular, the knight on e7 just has no prospects whatsoever. I want this king on a4, and then I will sort of consider my next options. That's what happens when you don't stream it. Probably, yeah. I think there's some truth to what you say, Polo Chub. Thanks for watching, Dutch Defender. I enjoyed it. Yeah, this didn't work out for my opponent. I can actually continue climbing up. Rook 8, King B7 is kind of funny here. And the king actually wins the game on its own. Hmm? Okay, let's play one bullet. Or maybe even two. Yeah, let's see how this one goes. If I get completely humiliated in this one, I'm probably not playing anymore. Another one of the positions I really, really hate with black. Not because it is bad, but because it's just so very unexciting to play. But that, I mean, nobody normally plays d4 in that position, so I take it all back. It's now completely fine and not very boring at all. Okay, I probably will win this one now because that was a bit of a mistake. And I saw a higher rated, like this is fine, but there was also a slightly higher rated bullet challenge. Since this one went quickly, I will actually play against a strong bullet player for just to finish it off. I will show you what happens when I play against somebody who apologies to my previous opponent, but this is probably going to be more of an issue. I also completely and utterly failed to equalize here, which is not ideal either. But yeah, the bigger problem is I will just get flagged very, very easily here, I feel. Shockingly, I'm not doing so poorly anymore. We'll have to concentrate, though. Whoa, I even won that one. Okay, that's the absolute triumph we were looking for the entire stream, of course. Thanks very much for watching. It's been fun. The tour starts on Sunday. This has been sort of the extent of my preparation, so you've been watching it live. You can judge for yourselves how well I'm prepared. Probably not very well, but um, there we go. And the new show is starting more or less as soon as I log off. So continue watching the channel if you like. There's stuff happening every moment of the day seemingly. Cheers, everyone. See you soon.